this Children's Bill of Rights, I mean, if they really want to get children ahead, attacking the parents like this and saying that the children have all of these rights is just wrong. And if they just want, the other piece of it, if they just wanted a committee to look at how to get children ahead, if they just wanted that committee, then they shouldn't have put the first 7 pages in there. I mean, the first 7 pages are just, they're obscene. They're obscene to any parent, anyone who has any child's interest at their heart. They should be absolutely appalled by this bill.
Wow. So how do you think it's going to go? I mean, tell us a little bit about the piece about them coming into our homes to assess our situations.
Right.
Is that part of SB18?
It is part of SB18, yes. And, home visiting, I actually went in with Christy Burkett into Assembly Member Arambula's, I think that's how you say his name, office, because he has a home visiting bill that is tied to CalWORKs, would tie home visiting to CalWORKs. And, I understand it already happens, and there are some parents that benefit from it, so don't get me wrong on that. But it's the fact that, and this is the issue with most bills in California, the issue with this bill, having the word access in there, somebody in the next few years can strike that word out and can strike the word out that home visiting is voluntary to make it mandatory. And, we have a history of that here in California, of having things that are especially put forward by Senator Penn that are right now or were voluntary and have become mandatory. And the other piece that I really have issue with SB18 and with the other bills that are targeted to low-income families is that, you and I have the luxury, if we don't want to use the state assistance, if we don't want to use the vouchers to buy food, we can go and buy organic food at the farmer's market, for example, because that's what we want to give our children and our families. Low income, the people who can't put food on their kids' plates every night, those people don't have an option. They don't have the choice of where to go. They don't have the choice of doctors. They have to go to a Medi-Cal doctor. They don't have the choice as much as we do. And I understand, that the statement, well, if the state's paying for it, they shouldn't have a choice. They should just go for what the state. If they don't want the state to pay for it, then they should be, then they should work that out themselves. And I understand that concept. But to me, when you're trying to get, I would say the majority of people that are low income are striving to do better. They want to do better for themselves and their children. And my question is, how can we get them out of that place without making them reliant on the government, without making them reliant on the one option that they have to feed their kids, the one option that they have to educate their kids, the one option that they have for health care for their kids. And that's, when I look at, and they also very often feel that voluntary programs have mandatory aspects to them, which they don't, but it's not that option isn't given. I mean, I look back even before SB277, which was the vaccine mandate law, even before that, parents weren't told in public schools that there was an option to have a personal belief exemption. Most schools had a sign that said, no shots, no school, which was incorrect. That was a lie.
Right.
And so most, and I've heard low-income families that are on WIC, food stamps, that say, well, in order for me to get my food stamps, I have to go and do X, Y, and Z, be it healthcare, dental care, whatever. And because they feel that is related. Well, it's not related. You don't have to do anything for food stamps other than qualify for them in certain ways because you don't have enough money. But you don't have to do certain healthcare things. You don't have to do certain, and so it really, to me, saying that it's voluntary, saying that this home visiting is voluntary, when you're part of CalWORKs, voluntary soon becomes a twisting of your arm, or you're not a good parent if you don't do it. You're shamed, I mean, I look at the hepatitis B shot, which is given at birth in the hospital, and any parent can say no to that. Any parent can say, I don't want the hepatitis B shot given to my child now, ever, There's no mandatory, you have to have the Hep B shot before you leave the hospital. If a parent does not accept the Hep B shot, there is a large likelihood, first of all, that the doctors are going to shame you, but second of all, that CPS could be called on you, and that's happened in a number of cases. And those parents are doing nothing wrong. But if you don't know that you have a choice or you feel pressured by it, you're not going to do what you think is right for your family. And so that's the real issue I have with those. I'm going to go back to, I realize I answered your question, but I haven't answered your question of lobby day. So I'm going to go back to that. So we on Monday, we had the Common Sense Kids Action. There was another group that it's called Parents United Against SB18 that were in the Capitol on Monday. They met with some friendly legislators in the morning, and then in the afternoon they went around to other legislators. On Tuesday, we had an amazing group of parents, and I will say the difference between our parents and the parents that Common Sense Kids Action had was our parents were truly grassroots, not associated with any organization that would get funded, especially any organization that would get funding from this. The Common Sense Kids Action folks that were there, they had a great diversity of people, but they had, I think, one bus or maybe two buses come up from the Southern California area, and they basically included volunteers or people who worked for the organizations that will benefit from a Children's Bill of Rights, from extended early childhood care. And so, I look at it and, they were, bragging about how wonderful the turnout was. And I look at it and I go, if you listen to the parents, if you really listen to the parents that have no financial interest, the parents that care about their kid because their kid is they're the only people that care the most about their child, those parents everywhere that we have been have said they don't want this bill. So our lobby day, our purpose in the morning, we had Learn to Lobby, which we joined up with another organization that sort of gave a crib sheet on how to lobby as a grassroots activist. And then we met. What organization was that? So that was Capital Resource Institute. Okay. And they are also heavily opposed to SB18. They're quite a conservative group, so some of our parents resonated with them, others didn't, but that wasn't the point. They put on a lobby day. They invited anyone who wanted to come to Learn to Lobby, so we supported that so that we didn't duplicate efforts. And then we met for lunch. We split off from them after that. We met for lunch. And then we handed out our legislative packets, which, again, you can get on SB18.info. And we then, many of our group, or most of our group, actually had meetings with their assembly member and or senator, and they went to those. And then we also had, while they weren't going to those, we had everyone go to every other legislator's office and hand out our legislative packet and try to get a meeting if they could, or otherwise speak with the person there and kind of explain our stance. And one important thing was we definitely were there to oppose SB18 as our primary focus, but we did have the first page of our legislative packet was an analysis that a few, so Educate, Advocate, A Voice for Choice, and a few other individuals sort of went through and analyzed all the bills in the state of California that are up this year, and analyzed which ones were for kids, for family, and which ones were not. And so we had a list of all the ones that we were for, as well as a list that we were opposed, and we were asking the legislatures to look at that and vote based on our perspective on those. And the important thing there, and that's what I would say to anyone who goes into their legislature to oppose SB18 or ask them to oppose SB18, is find a bill that your legislator has that you can support. It can be anything. You can support it personally. It doesn't have to be something to do with family or with kids. It could be, it could be a transportation or a there's quite a few that do have to do with children, like and products or ingredients in products. So there's a Synthetic Food Dye Act. There's a Clean Water Act. So get clean water in schools. There's a cleaning fluid or cleaning products disclosure act. There's a whole bunch of, if you go to your legislature, you can look through their bills and find one that you like, find one or two that you like that you can support them on, because you really want to go in there and support them on their stuff and then say, I want you to oppose and I want you to not co-author SB18. We did find out on Monday that Senator Pan has gotten a co-author in the Assembly, which he needs in order to move it through the Assembly. It's Cristina Garcia, which isn't a surprising choice. We were hoping that we wouldn't get a co-author on it. She authored the AB 1117 2 years ago, which was the bill that would have given Medi-Cal doctors incentives if they had their 2-year-old children up to date on vaccinations. It died in appropriations, and we had fought heavily against that because we don't think it's right for doctors to be incentivized for medical procedures. And so it wasn't a surprising pick. It was a very disappointing pick, I will say. And we did encourage everyone who was in the Capitol on Tuesday to go by her office and just express their disappointment.
And what area is she from?
She's from the LA area, so her local office is in Downey. And if you are in that area, I would highly recommend that you go into her office and express your disappointment with it and express your concerns with the bill. I don't think, I've said this, I don't think there are any amendments that could be made to this bill to make it palatable. And one of the biggest issues with that is, even if it was a perfect parental rights bill, even if it said everything we wanted it to say, with Senator Pan as the author, you just can't trust it. I mean,
there's something nefarious going on.
He has done so much bad for our children in California that regardless of what he does, he can't be trusted, and he certainly can't be trusted with our children. And so, to me, even if they had the perfect bill, my concern would be that he puts something through, and then, next year he does something to amend it, or
like he said with AB 2109.
Exactly.
We're not taking parental rights away. We just want people to be fully informed before they opt out.
Yeah, and then
a year later,
boom. Yep.
There you go. Was it 2 years or a year? With that?
It was 2 years. It was 2 years after it passed, but it was a year that it was in effect. So AB 2109 was only in effect a year. Actually, it wasn't even a year. It was 4 months that it was in effect.
And I just have to throw in my 2 cents one more time. He said that he wanted parents to have true information, the facts.
Right. Yep.
And when I went to my doctor for AB 2109 counseling, I got 3 pieces of false information.
Right.
So,
Well, and I mean, to talk about AB 2109, I didn't even go to my doctor because we had that conversation since my children were 0 days old. I had that conversation with her, and so it was kind of like, okay, I need you to sign this. Do you need me to come in? And she's like, no, we talk about it every single time you're in here. And so I'll sign it because we've had the conversation, kind of thing. And so, to me, it wasn't, and that's where nefarious is the right word, because that's where at that point, there were definitely parents that stood up and stood out against AB 2109, and maybe they saw the writing on the wall. I didn't, because I was naive and didn't know about the political system and didn't think that people like Senator Pan existed. But, to me, when he said, I just want parents to have more information, we're not going to take their right away, they're absolutely not going to have to vaccinate, I took his word for that. I absolutely did not think that a year later, or 2 years in legislative time, but realistically 4 months after the law went into effect, I didn't think that he would be standing there saying, no, we're taking your rights away. And I can see the same thing happening with this. I can see them saying, we're not taking any parental rights away. We're just giving the children these rights, which is ludicrous. I mean, it's ludicrous to give somebody who's underage rights. What's the point of being underage then? There's no underage becomes nothing. It gets taken out of